This is CaneSport Inside the Lines on the Ourlads Football Network as the Miami Hurricanes defeat the North Carolina State Wolfpack. An exciting game. One of the most exciting games. This game was so exciting that when Miami made the interception to seal the game, I actually cheered. I couldn't. Like the reaction that you would have of a cheer. I didn't even know what I did, but I was like, yeah. And I'm like, and right after I did that, I said to myself, why did I do that? I'm not a Miami Hurricane fan, but it just shows you that I do these shows. I'm dialed in. I have an affinity now to the program for doing the shows, and why not? I want to see you guys do well. So maybe I'm a good luck charm, Gary.
It's very nice of you, Greg, to wish the Canes well. We certainly can use it, and I mean that game in Raleigh was absolutely unbelievable, and great game to watch. A lot of offense. Miami put up over 600 yards total offense. De'Ara King was absolutely unbelievable, and to actually be able to win it in the fourth quarter, with a defense that had been struggling. They'd given up 400 yards and 41 points going into the fourth quarter. And to be able to limit them to 6 yards on 8 plays in the fourth quarter was obviously totally spectacular. And it was a well-deserved victory for the Canes because of that.
Absolutely. And to wrap up some key trends from last week that we hit on, Miami has now dropped, even though they won, which is important regarding the buys, they've still dropped 6 straight covers after buys. And the dog in the series with North Carolina State has now covered 14 of the last 17.
Yeah, I think that explains why so many fans were upset, even though the Canes won. It was funny. I do a weekly talk show down here, and I was kind of surprised this week at how much anger there still is out there. The team's 6-1; they're ranked in the top 10. But I think there's also a recognition that they're not playing great teams, and there's still a long way to go for the program. And people want perfection.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's reality right now, Greg.
How old are these people? I mean, they got. Come on. I hope they're old. Because any young football fans,
they're wide. It's a wide range. It's there's no standard in that regard.
And I say that because I can understand the older generation. They understand that there's a certain tradition that they want to get back to, and I get. But the younger, they've never experienced it. So this is all positive for the younger generation, I would think.
Yeah, the truth's in the middle. Yeah, the schedule's not great, but it's so hard to win every week in college football.
Yes.
Now. You're seeing it all over the country with some of the teams that are losing.
That's right.
And just the fact that this team this year, behind a dynamic quarterback like De'Ara King, is finding ways to win games. It's reminding me a lot of the 2017 season, where it did eventually catch up to Miami, and they dropped their last 3 games that year. But it's reminding me very much of that season, where they're just finding ways to eke by with victories. And you got to give them credit for that, because it's not a great roster yet. I think everybody knows that.
No.
But they're trying to come back from a real setback last year, and I think they're doing a pretty good job of it.
Look, I need you at some point, when you get a chance, the next time you see De'Ara King. You need how tall are you, Gary?
I'm taller than De'Ara King. I'm about 5'11".
All right. Well, I need you to get as close to him as possible, and I need to get to. I know you. What did you say he was? 5'9"?
I would guess 5'9".
Okay.
Yeah.
I need you to try and see what you can do about getting, because especially the smaller quarterbacks, they're always going to inflate the height in college or even in high school. Because if you look anywhere on the internet, he's 5'11", and we know he's not 5'11".
No.
So, but Kyler Murray went in at 5'10", I believe. And if De'Ara King can be anywhere close to that, And I know he's not going the first pick of the draft. My point
No.
is, if he can get anywhere close to that, he is going to be a professional starting quarterback. He is
Well,
that good.
here's the thing, Greg. He's not Kyler Murray. I watched Kyler Murray play the Dolphins Sunday, and I was like, oh my God. Okay, De'Ara King is not Kyler Murray. But at the college level, as a college quarterback, right now, he's producing like Kyler Murray produced when he was in college.
He should be a
There's no
Heisman
question about it.
contender.
If Miami keeps winning, he might be, especially with Trevor Lawrence, missing a few games. You never know, you don't know how the season's going to end and how Trevor's going to do when he comes back. But if Miami were to run the table here and finish 10-1, then I think he's got to have a seat in New York. I mean, you just look at what he's meant to the program alone.
Yeah.
Forget the stats, forget the great victory the other day and all that. I mean, just the impact that he has had on this Miami program
Yes.
is, and I wrote about this over the weekend, like it's almost unlike anything you've ever seen. I mean, Miami's had Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, but those guys were surrounded by great teams, right?
Yes.
Toretta, Testaverde, they were surrounded by great teams, Greg. De'Ara King is surrounded by a good team, not a great team.
No.
But he has taken a good team and made it a very good team just by his presence on and off the field.
He is the single most important player in college football for their team. Hands down.
He might be.
Hands
might
down.
be. Absolutely
and
might be.
That's why anybody that is a little bit, I don't know, maybe they're not taking it all in. Some of these Miami fans, they need to just get De'Ara King. Because if you take De'Ara King, maybe what they need, and we don't want it to happen, but maybe what they need is for De'Ara King to miss a game. And then you'll see exactly how much he means.
That takes you back to 2019. You don't want any part of it. De'Ara King has made this program this season, and it was exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, and look, it does remind me, and I actually think draft-wise, it's going to remind me a lot of Russell Wilson. Because you got a transfer quarterback, you got a smaller guy, an athletic guy. There's a lot of similarities there. He wasn't drafted high like Kyler Murray. So now whether he turns into that, who knows? But I from where I was in the beginning of the season to where I am now, that's why I said it. I'm putting my reputation on the line. He will be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I just want to make sure he's not 5'8".
I don't know that he'll be a starter. I think he can make a roster and maybe be a change of pace kind of guy. We'll see. But I do think he's working himself into the draft. I mean, I think he came into the season. There was question whether he was a draftable quarterback. Some people thought maybe he could be a slot receiver or, something along
those days
lines.
are over.
Yeah, I agree. So but
our lads right now has them as their 10th rated quarterback for seniors in the draft class.
Do they?
Well, actually, for juniors or seniors. Yeah, juniors or seniors. This was about a month ago when the booklet came out. They have him and I got to tell you right now, after what's happened since the booklet came out, I think that's going up from 10 because he was behind Jack Cohn from Wisconsin. Skylar Thompson, of course, is injured at Kansas State. And KJ Costello sure ain't looking all that good at Mississippi State. So I'd probably put him at about 5 or 6 right now in the NFL draft.
I mean, right now, if I were to guess, I see him as maybe like a 4th or 5th round draft
agree.
pick.
Yeah.
And a guy that can compete to be a backup quarterback in the NFL. He's not Kyler Murray. He doesn't have Kyler Murray's speed for starters, which is off the chain, as you know.
Sure.
I don't think he quite has Kyler Murray's arm strength, but he's a very good college quarterback and a guy that's a big character guy in the locker room. And I think when you put all that together, that he's making himself draftable.
Okay, now Miami. Let's just go over some of the key parts of this game because I had 3 pages. You can see here. I know you can't see me, but the audience can. 3 pages worth of both sides of notes. That's how crazy the game was. Usually it's 1 page back and forth. This was 3 pages, so it was crazy. But you had the trick play touchdown for NC State on the first drive, which you knew immediately at that point. Here we go. It's a Friday night, and NC State's pulling it all out. On Miami's first drive, they had the 4th and 1 at their own 35, and a great play already by King. He keeps the ball on the option, and he runs for 44 yards. Then he makes the catch. Excuse me. Oh yeah. Then you had the cutback run by Donald Chaney, the freshman, for 13 yards, which led to the touchdown pass to Mallory and tied the game. And I know we haven't seen an awful lot of Chaney, but that kid looks like he has something in him.
Yeah, absolutely. Jalen Knight and Chaney are probably the plum members of this recruiting class without question. It's not a surprise that they've contributed as true freshmen. You could see the ability they both have. If they're lacking on anything right now, it's opportunities. They're just not. There's not enough.
Yeah, why do you think that is? I mean, I know Harris is the number one guy.
You got 3 guys splitting 35, 40 carries a game. It's just there's not enough to go around. I mean, and plus you got to remember De'Ara King's going to get his share of those.
Sure.
And he had I think 13 carries last week. So there's just not enough running plays to go around for really 4 guys. And that's why you're seeing limited opportunities for the freshmen. Plus, the offensive line has not been doing as good a job lately in run blocking. So there's not a lot of big running plays, and of course they're in shootouts and they got to try to win the game like last week, and that clearly the route to that success was throwing the ball. 430 yards passing speaks for itself.
Absolutely. Right? And Mallory is like a touchdown machine now, but. Jordan, that was a surprise that he missed the game. We kind of thought last week at this time that he was going to make it, but it didn't work out for him. What's the latest?
I think he was physically ready. I think he just ended up on the quarantine list because of coronavirus.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's very fortunate that they have Mallory filling in for Jordan.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Who one of the better backup tight ends. I mean, Notre Dame showed what their tight end class. Those guys. I mean, they got 3 really good tight ends. Notre Dame. I'm not so sure Notre Dame and Miami. They got to be at the top as far as depth.
Well, and Will Mallory, we've been saying for several weeks now.
Yes,
I know. I've been saying that he's probably the most underutilized talent on the Hurricane team, and he has been. Now he got 6 receptions, I think 76 yards, something along those lines last week. That's what I was looking at as something that he was capable of, and he finally got enough touches last week. But he has been so solid and so steady the entire season.
Next drive for NC State, you had a couple of bad plays from Miami that led to a touchdown. The one was the Hunt offsides on 3rd and 2. And I forget who the player was. I think it was a linebacker who looked like he had the interception, and then it went right through his hands. And that resulted in a 24-yard. I think his number was 53. And that resulted in a 24-yard pass down to the 15. And it led to a 3rd and 6 touchdown. That was a corner to the end zone, Devin Carter against DJ Ivy. NC State goes up 14-7. Miami's second drive. This was interesting because they got a little bit of a break when De'Ara King, there was a blitz. He overshoots Wiggins on 3rd down, but roughing the passer, that kept the drive alive. And King then underthrew Pope for a 39-yard touchdown. And then on the next play, he hits Wiggins for a 39-yard touchdown. That just shows you the kind of guy King is. If you first don't succeed, I'm going to come right back at you with a different guy, and I'll get you the next time.
Yeah, and he did it the whole game. I mean, just kept, he had to respond. I mean, NC State was scoring.
Yes.
And, he was dropping dimes all over the place up there. Made some just absolutely phenomenal touch throws. The one that comes to mind specifically was that rainbow pass to Harley in the right corner of the end zone, right up against the end line.
That was the 3rd touchdown. Yes.
Yeah, he drops that in over the top. I mean, that was unbelievable.
Yep. So it just shows you
that's a tight end zone there too. I mean, Harley, it was full speed, caught the football in dead stride, and actually had so much momentum he had to run up the steps.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he was going to bash into a wall somewhere. So
that was perfect.
That was a tight throw, and he just laid it right in there. It was beautiful.
Now, after the touchdown, the one before that one, you're talking about in the first quarter, they had the onside kick. and that was fun for them to get the onside kick. Unfortunately, that was the one that Burns recovered at the 35, but they had
Yep.
penalties. They had the drop by Harris, which would have put him in field goal range, and they had a punt anyway. But the penalties, once again, 108th nationally in penalty yards. That's when you're 6-1, you kind of, as a fan, you just, but one of these days, those penalties are going to wind up catching up to them.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that's going to be this weekend. I mean, I've seen Miami picked to lose this game for several weeks now, and I believe Virginia Tech's still like a 1 or 2 point favorite as we sit here today, taping this show on Wednesday. ESPN in their projections has projected Miami to lose this game all year. So people are acknowledging the fact that the Canes are going on the road. They're playing a decent team in Virginia Tech, which now is looking to bounce back from just an absolute massive disappointment on Saturday against Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And, they want to fire the coach after he tried to freeze the kicker on a 59-yard field goal. The kick ended up being blocked. And it was all for naught because they got another opportunity and they ended up going for it. And then they made it. And then they later kicked a 51-yard field goal to win the game. So things are reeling a little bit right now for Virginia Tech. And I think Miami's going to get a lot of effort from those guys on Saturday. And you can't spot them 108 yards in penalties. There's no question about it. And Greg, these are like, we talked at the beginning of the show about, a little fan restlessness and stuff. And, these are the kind of things that people are seeing. And, Miami's got a good fan base, a lot of very knowledgeable fans. And they're seeing things like that, and they're saying, this has got to be better. The defense can't give up 400 yards through 3 quarters and 41 points.
Sure.
That's got to be better. So Miami's winning games, but every week there's things that you're seeing where people are saying, it's got to be better, it's got to be better. And you're absolutely right. Eventually you get to the point where if it doesn't get better, you get caught. And it's going to need to be better probably Saturday in Blacksburg.
And I actually thought that part of the reason why it looked like they were going to pay for it, because the other thing we talked about in these close games, the fact that they've been winning them, is they've been getting breaks and things have been going their way. And they did not get breaks in this game because there were 2 awful calls in the game. The first one, when they took the 21-14 lead on that Harley touchdown, it was 3rd and 10 at midfield. And this was the one when Quincy Roche has the center who was doing it for a reason. He was trying to get Quincy Roche to respond.
Correct.
That's
And that's part of the game.
Yes.
I mean, we've been arguing about this on the message boards at CaneSport.com, and my feeling on that is, look, baiting guys into personal fouls is part of the game of football. Yes, unquestionably, that kid was trying to bait Quincy Roche. However, Quincy's got to have more discipline than to, go and try to shove him, because it's always the guy that retaliates that gets the call. I mean, that's the oldest cliche in football.
Yep.
The guy that retaliates is going to get flagged for the penalty. So, yeah, horrendous call, on face value, but it also was a horrendous decision by Quincy to shove the guy, because that's going to be a flag almost every single time.
But Phillips came up with a big sack on 3rd down and held him to a field goal. And that was very important after having to deal with that, which should have been a punt. Miami then at their own 7 moves the ball down the field, and things are starting to look good. But then another bad call. King has the 15-yard run, and they called a holding on Ja'Kai Clark. That was terrible. I mean, that was just he had completely sealed the guy off, and King just easily ran from 15 yards. I didn't even know where that flag came from. I'm sorry. That was just such an awful call, and they had a punt.
Yeah, it was very ticky-tack. I totally agree.
So later on, NC State wound up scoring, and they went up 24-21. And then, unfortunately, there were some drops, back-to-back drops by Pope and Wiggins, things we had not seen. Really, they had a tremendous game against Virginia, and early on, things were looking good. But Pope and Wiggins had back-to-back drops, and NC State had a punt. I mean, Miami had a punt. And that's why I started to think, well, they're getting some bad calls. They're dropping balls again. This is going to, and NC State's quarterback, which hasn't done anything all year, is just throwing the ball all over the place like he's,
Great, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, maybe this ain't it. But that was halftime. In the second half, Miami marches down and they end up tying the game on a field goal. But then NC State, there was a jump ball to Emezi. That kid Emezi looks like he's going to be pretty good. He's got good, big receiver. They like those guys. But that was a jump ball on 3rd and 6. That set up the touchdown for NC State, and they went up 31-24. And at that point, again, things were not looking all that great for Miami. But then, boom, Pope for 40, and on the next play, Pope for 17, touchdown, and it's all of a sudden tied at 31, and you're thinking, well, all right, this is back and forth. This is going to be something. Miami's showing a lot of resiliency, and then the kick return for the touchdown, which again, just you had to feel. I had to feel for like the 5th time in the game. This is the game they're going to lose. This has to be the game they're going to lose. I mean, that to come back from a kick return touchdown at that spot just shows you how resilient Miami was in this game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And they've talked about that a lot. They talked about it after the game. They've talked about it since the game. Just the way the team came together to rise to the occasion in the 4th quarter. And they feel really good about their locker room this year, their togetherness, the fact that guys pick each other up. They're not quitting. And it's noticeable. It really is to, those of us that follow the team and cover the team. There is a difference in this team from the team last year. Much more together, a much better locker room, much better leadership than they've had in probably a few years. And it pays off in a situation like that when you're on the road and you got to, rise to the occasion. And they absolutely did. Just a phenomenal 4th quarter.
Now, when North Carolina State went up 41-31, shortly after that kick return touchdown, Miami got the field goal to get back within 7. And now we get to a very important part of the game. It was late, under 7 minutes to go. Another bad call by the refs. 4th and 1. Miami, it didn't look at all like King had scored the touchdown. No, Harris. It didn't. It looked clearly to me he was short. So Miami, Good job. They get back to the line of scrimmage real fast. Boom. It looked like, scoring a touch. Oh, that's a touchdown. No. Wait, everybody. We got to take a look at the touchdown.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Which if you were asked Diaz, he would have said, I don't want to look at it.
It was ridiculous. I mean, for them to make that decision so late and take a touchdown off the board was just, words can't describe it.
Yeah. And then, of course, you get the illegal motion on Miami, and they have to settle for the field goal,
which was par for the course.
Yeah,
it just came to figure that was what was going to happen after that.
By the way, were you surprised, or were you thinking that even though they got called 5 yards back with 6.5 minutes to go, knowing NC State and the offense, and they've scored 41 points at that point, did you think maybe they should go for it?
Well, no, I thought Manny Diaz made the right decision, but it was very atypical for Manny. Like, usually Manny would go for it in that situation. And I thought he made a good decision. Made it a 4-point game, and he had confidence in his defense to stop him. And he knows how quickly his offense can score points. So he's sitting there looking at what I think it was like 6:25 left in the game.
Yep.
He's thinking we're going to get the ball 2 more times. Like, we have 2 more possessions here in this last 6 minutes. Rather than have to score a touchdown to go into overtime, let's put ourselves in a situation where we're looking to score a touchdown to win the damn game. And I thought it was a good decision, and I was happy to see it pay off for him.
Yeah, gutsy one. And then, sure enough, 3rd and 9. Roche and Couch combined for the sack with 4.5 minutes left. So they only, 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. They took off the clock. Miami gets the ball back at their own 16. King gets called for grounding on 2nd 18. Typical De'Aaron King. He just throws this perfect pass to Harley for 37 yards and gets them moving. Then on 3rd and 7, North Carolina State had not. They had some blitzes that they called here and now, but I hadn't really noticed any lately. And then here came the blitz. and it was a perfect pass to Harley. It was a 7-yard pass right there at the line of what they needed to get the first down. Harley just shrugs off the tackle and goes all the way, the rest of the way, 54 yards for the touchdown. And just like that, Miami had the lead.
You know, one of the great things that Rhett Lashley, the offensive coordinator, does, in my opinion, is he draws up plays that give his receivers, whether it be Mallory or Harley or Mark Pope or whoever, he creates great angles for them that allow them to gain leverage on the defender. And that was a perfect example. Like,
Yes.
you know, on the surface, you're thinking, oh, simple slant. Okay, it was. But you have to look at the sharpness that Harley ran that route and the way he was able to gain leverage on the cornerback so that when he caught the ball in full stride, he had all the momentum going and was able to take it right up the middle of the field, where the rest of the play had been set up to open up the middle of the field. And that's why Rhett Lashley right now is one of the rising offensive coordinators in college football. He came to Miami for this kind of stage, and he's getting it. And he's really just shown a great propensity this entire year to be able to dial up massive explosive plays, which obviously are the difference between winning and losing for a team that might be compromised a little bit in some areas and might not really totally be capable of consistency all the time. When you can hit a big play like that gets you out of dodge, so to speak, and puts points on the board, that's making the difference between a 9, 10, 11 win team and a 5, 6, 7 win team.
And that was because that play was perfectly designed against the blitz.
Yep, no doubt.
Meanwhile, and by the way, Lashley, see, this was also a real good situation for Lashley, because it's not like Lashley was coming to Miami with all of these accolades and, here's the next head coach. I'm surprised he took the Miami job. He should have been a head coach. No, he was needing to go somewhere to develop himself. I need to be reborn. I'm not Gus Malzahn.
Reborn is a great word, yes, because he was, he was there when he was at Auburn. Like, he was on the stage. He was the OC under Gus Malzahn, and he was on that stage, and he was, on the cusp of that kind of career breakthrough. And things went bad, for whatever reason. And then he's got to go to UConn and SMU to start the path back. And now he's sitting at SMU. He had a great year last year at SMU, but nobody's paying attention to SMU day by day. The Miami job was sitting right there in front of him at the perfect time. Manny Diaz is in the right place, right time, is able to get him to come down here and provide Rhett Lashley with exactly what he needed. And that is a showcase. And he's getting it. You're on national TV every week at Miami. Whether it's ABC, ESPN, whatever, a lot of people are seeing what you're doing. You're getting all the credit in the world for turning this program around. I mean, people know that he deserves the credit. I mean, Manny Diaz is getting credit too, but Rhett Lashley is getting more credit. Sure. And you know what? He deserves every bit of it, because he helped Manny recruit the Eric King, who's been the other difference maker. And together they have revitalized a program that was at rock bottom. I mean, when you go 6-7 and you lose to FIU and Louisiana Tech, I'm sorry, that's rock bottom. I don't care. You can't sugarcoat that. You can't put spin on that. That is rock bottom. And these two guys have come in here and have totally changed this program back, and they deserve that credit.
Absolutely. And now the trick is going to be, as we talked about a few weeks back, I look, I think this season's going too good, barring injuries, that when it's all said and done, it's going to be a really nice season, whether they lose a couple more times or not. I still think it's going to be a really nice season. Then the questions are going to be about, well, is Derek King going to come back maybe? And Lashley will be getting head coaching interviews. And you could wind up losing King and Lashley in one offseason again.
You might. Yeah, you might. The only thing that I look at is, Lashley has young kids. He just moved them from Dallas to Miami. Maybe he's not in such a hurry to move them again so quickly. I mean, he's obviously not going to turn down a great head coaching job, but what if it's a marginal head coaching job?
You're right.
Is that going to, where, he'll make a little more money, but, maybe he'd rather be the OC at Miami as opposed to the head coach at
FIU.
yeah, FIU or even like I'm trying to think what another one that could open up potentially, like even like a place. I don't think this will open up yet, but even like a lower level SEC team like a Missouri where you're not going to be able to win. A program like maybe he feels it's better off to stay at Miami for another year or
Where's
two
he
and
from?
build on
What's
what
his
he's done this
background?
year.
Where's
Who?
he from? Is he a Texas guy, a Southern guy?
You know what? I don't
Yeah, because
know.
that that'll
I've never
that'll
really
that'll definitely
I've never really looked at
yeah,
that.
that'll
But
come into play big time, I'm sure.
to me, coaches, I know everybody wants to be a head coach, but if you take a job where you have like almost no chance for
Sure, yeah, and
success,
you got a family, like you said.
I'm I mean, it might be a little bit better for you financially. You're going to get a 4 or 5 year contract. You're going to have guaranteed money and all that. I get it. And you're probably not going to, in most cases, turn it down. But a guy like this, I think, has decent job security. And, he could pretty much feel safe that he's going to have $1 million a year job. Miami's going to have to give him a raise. I don't think he's making that much here right now. But somebody's going to offer him at least $1 million, and Miami would have to match it if they want to keep him. So, you can make $1 million a year, and you're going to be making it for your next 10, 15 years. And yeah, you take a bad head coaching job, and maybe you can make a little bit more than that for over a short
Sure.
term period of time. But when you talk about moving your young kids
Yeah.
around all the time and going through all those things, to me, I'm surprised more guys don't make the decision to stay coordinators in good programs, very much like what you see at Clemson with Venables, for
Oh
example,
yeah.
and Elliott. Those guys have, they've had opportunities to leave,
Well, there's the
but
same
they
thing I
stay.
think with
Yeah.
one of those guys. I think it's Venables. That
Well, Venables is
family.
paid like a
Yeah,
head
he's got the
coach. Yeah,
family
but
situation. Yeah.
right.
So he was.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it could go either way. I mean, people are going to come after Lashley. There's no doubt about it. I don't know what kind of head coaching opportunities he's going to get, but he's going to get more lucrative coordinator opportunities
And the other
too.
thing too is if for some reason, let's just say, King decides he is going to come back, that's going to make Lashley's decision a lot easier too. Like, all right, maybe
Yeah,
I will stay here
but
another
I mean,
year.
somebody in the SEC or something is going to offer this guy $1.5 million. I mean, that's what I'm expecting to happen. I don't see Miami being able to match that, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
I don't know.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
the thing is there have been a lot of jobs have been handed out lately at the SEC. I think maybe you might have an opening at Vanderbilt. I mean, maybe there,
Yeah,
but that's like what we just
but
said. Is
but
that the job
but
you want?
but that's the right. Does he want that job?
Probably
That's the
not.
question. And I think Auburn's going to open up. Obviously, he won
Oh
Auburn.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But I don't think he would get that. Like, I don't think he's at that stage yet. He's going to probably need an intermediate head coaching stage before he could be eligible for a job like that. And Greg, we know that there's a difference between being a head coach and assistant coach. We don't even know if he'll be a good head
True.
coach. We haven't seen recruiting body of
Yeah.
work, for example. We don't know. I mean, but the thing is, he's making a big enough difference, just to sum it up, that people are taking notice and are going to continue taking notice. And that means that he is going to have opportunities.
Well, after the touchdown, Miami got the ball right back on the deflected pass to Emezi. Ivy picked it off, and on 3rd and 6, with no timeouts left for NC State, Miami needed one more first down to seal it, and that's exactly what the man did when De'Aaron King went 12 yards for the run and sealed the deal, and Miami goes to 6-1, and that was a hell of a win. So what was? Give me the last game, last Miami game that you remember that was that exciting or even just fulfilling.
Oh, I mean, almost every game. I mean, if they're not there, you don't always have 40 something points for each team, but I mean, almost every game in the ACC is like this. It's you have a lot of evenly matched teams. Your life and death. When you don't separate yourself with elite talent like Clemson does, you're pretty much life and death in the ACC to win almost every single game. And you just look up and down the league every weekend. There you have close games that are tilting on a play here, a play there. You have very good coaches in this league who could take average talent and put together a game plan and give a team that might have a little bit better talent the fits of their life, and that's ACC football right
By the way,
now.
how do you
And
feel about the fact that you might feel differently now, of course, compared to earlier in the season when you probably weren't even thinking Miami would be in this spot? But what do you think about Notre Dame being in the conference this year?
I love it. I wish they would permanently join the conference.
Absolutely, that would be great.
It would be
But
great.
I'm just
You
saying,
put them
of all
you put them in the
years
coast.
for Notre Dame to get into the conference when Miami has a shot again at the ACC championship, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, I think you leave Clemson in the Atlantic. I think you put Notre Dame with Miami in the coastal. Maybe move like a Virginia Tech or something over to the Atlantic just to balance everything out. And I think you'd have a great conference. I think you got to think Florida State eventually will come back and be a better team than what they are right now. Oh my God, what a train wreck they are. But you have to assume that over the next 3 years, 4 years, that Florida State will come
Sure.
back and be better. And now you got Clemson, Notre Dame, Miami, Florida State, and then the Pac, which is a very good Pac. And now you have a conference that doesn't have to take a back seat to the SEC.
What do you think the chances are of Notre Dame coming into the ACC for football?
I don't know. I mean, I hope that they look at the experiment this year and say, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. It's really not so
There
bad.
isn't.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We do it in every other sport. Why not? Why not do it? Like, what's the point of being an independent anymore?
I know. All right. Well, I hope so. That would be great for the conference.
Yeah, I think it would be. I think it would be great. I think the ACC should pursue it to the max right now, because if it's ever going to happen, it's going to happen now after Notre Dame's had this experience, and I think it's been a good experience for them.
Oh yeah, it has. Sure has.
They could still play, a couple games a year. They'll still have their 4 non-conference games that they can play against whomever they want.
Absolutely.
You want to go out and play USC? Go out and play USC. That's great. You want to play?
Stanford.
I guess they used to play Navy every year or whatever.
Yeah, sure, you could do that.
Yeah, I mean, play whoever you want to play. Mm-hmm. But you're in the ACC for a conference, and they already have a deal where they're playing, I think, 5 ACC games a year.
I know, right? And they're playing basketball in the ACC.
Just go the whole way. Go the whole way and be in the conference.
Miami's a 2-point dog this week, as you mentioned. Virginia Tech 4-3 on the season. Miami 2-1 away. Virginia Tech 2-1 at home. If you take a look at it, we mentioned the injuries. The key injury for Miami, of course, is still Brevin Jordan. For Virginia Tech, they have some big key injuries. First of all, they have the 4th leading rusher in the nation in yards, Khalil Herbert, is dealing with a hamstring injury. He injured it on the opening kickoff last week against Liberty. He did not play the rest of the game. Obviously, that helped Liberty, no question. But Herbert he's not only does he have 803 yards, but he averages 8.3 yards a carry. So hamstrings are a tricky thing. So it's possible Herbert may not be available. The leading receiver is tight end James Mitchell. He did not play last week with an undisclosed injury. Not sure if he's going to be available this week. And last year's leading tackler, Rayshad Ashby, who has 3 sacks and 6.5 tackles for loss this season, was injured in the second quarter last week, did not return. That helped Liberty. And also defensive lineman Jared Hewitt is banged up. So those are some key players for Virginia Tech. You know why that definitely helped Liberty pull off the upset. And it would help Miami if any of those guys were out, which is even more of a reason why I don't understand Miami's the 2-point underdog here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that spread move by kickoff. But for Miami, look, Virginia Tech has been struggling to bounce back from the retirement of Bud Foster. Their longtime defensive coordinator did a great job for so many years. He left the program, and now they're trying to bounce back. And it's been a struggle this year on defense. You take a look at their games. They lost to North Carolina, 56-45. Gave up 35. I guess the final score against 42 points against Liberty. Oh no,
38.
30. They gave 38 points to Liberty, 35 points to Louisville. They give up a lot of points,
And on the
and you know that
ground.
Miami, the way that Miami's got it going on offense right now, Miami's going to score Saturday. So Virginia Tech is going to have to try to find some defense
That ain't going to
somewhere,
happen
and
overnight.
otherwise, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think missing the running back, hurts a lot if he's not
That's
able
big.
to come back. But the guy that's going to give Miami the biggest problem in this game, I think, is Hendon Hooker. I mean, I think that's a really bad matchup for Miami to have a quarterback that can
Yeah.
run the way that kid can run, but can also throw the ball. I mean, he's a lot like a De'Ara King type talent. I mean, really. I mean,
Yeah, De'Ara King
just
light.
bigger. Yeah. Just bigger, just taller. Puts up unbelievable numbers. I mean, he's got 515 yards rushing.
Yeah, that's really where
so far
he hurts you, is on the ground, because he's
Yeah.
not the passer Derek King is, but he's a more
Well,
electrifying runner.
Except for one thing, Greg, he's completing 66% of his passes.
Yeah, it's a lot of short
So,
passes though. That's
and I don't think he has the weapons that De'Ara King has. So, this kid's a good quarterback, and he can create a lot of problems for Miami. Miami's defense, and I think Miami obviously is going to need to score some points to win this game, and I think they're going to be able to.
Well, last year when the Hokies upset Miami, that was early in the season. Miami was a 14-point favorite in the game. And Virginia Tech, as you remember, they took a 28-0 lead. Miami finally tied it with 3 minutes left when DJ Dallas scored from 62 yards out. But then Virginia Tech went right back down the field, scored the game-winning touchdown with a minute left. Hooker, that was his first start of his career. And he had 3 touchdown passes, all to current New England Patriot tight end Dalton Keene. Now, that's key, and he rushed for another touchdown, too, because that's where Hooker wants to throw the football. That's why he has a high percentage. He wants to get it to the tight ends. He wants to throw, to the only receiver that you have to worry about deep is Trey Turner. Turner might be a mid-round kind of draft prospect as well. He averaged 18 yards of reception coming into the season. Turner did. He's down to about 15 this season. But besides Turner, most of it is going to be, dinking and dunking, short passes, and they want to run the football. They want Hooker and Herbert to scare the hell out of you in the run game, which is why if Herbert is not in the game, that would be a big help for Miami. And then speaking of their defense, unfortunately, the Miami rushing game, look, if they can't get anything going this week in the ground game, they're never going to get it going in the ground game, because Virginia Tech's rushing defense gives up 202 yards a game on the ground, which is 98th in the nation. Matter of fact, they gave up, 200, I believe, and 49 yards on the ground last week to Virginia. And their quarterback, Malik Willis, had over 100 yards on the ground himself, which we know Derek King can do. So Miami, they've got to reestablish their running game this week.
Yeah, and when they played North Carolina, they gave up 656 yards. And 384 rushing yards. I mean, they've really been struggling on defense. I'm surprised they haven't begged Bud Foster to come out of retirement or something. But maybe one part of the reason he retired was he knew the personnel was not going to be as good as it had been, because they're really struggling, and it's surprising to see a Virginia Tech defense playing that poorly.
Well, we talked about, of course, Miami and the big opt-out, Rousseau, but Virginia Tech had an equally devastating opt-out with cornerback Caleb Farley, who is going to be one of the top cornerbacks selected in the draft. So he could be a first-round guy. So he hasn't played all year. The other guy to keep an eye on is defensive back Shamari Connor. And we talked about Ashby, who's a physical middle linebacker. Again, another old school type of guy. He's been a really good player for Virginia Tech, but will he play or not? And they have a really good offensive tackle by the name of Christian Daraso to keep an eye on, too. That should be a good matchup with the defensive ends, the edge guys that Miami likes to throw out there. So keep an eye on the matchups with Daraso and Roche and Phillips and so forth. Meanwhile, let's go with the trends of the week. That'll wrap it up. And taking a look, let's see. First of all, we'll start with the series trends. And the road team has won and covered the last two in the series. That's good for Miami. Also, as far as Virginia Tech, this is also a good trend for Miami. Virginia Tech is 3-16 against the spread in their last 19 as a conference favorite of less than 17 points, taking on an opponent that is looking for revenge. So again, 3-16 against the spread, last 19, conference favorite, less than 17. And Miami, of course, lost to Virginia Tech last year. And if Miami does switch like the Louisville game and becomes the favorite, Virginia Tech 2-7 against the spread in their last 9 versus conference teams seeking revenge. So either way, it's a good spot as far as the trend there. Negative for Virginia Tech, positive for Miami. And as far as for Miami, they are 0-1 straight up and against the spread as a dog this season. So this is the first time that they're going to be a dog since Clemson, and the only time if it stays that way. And they're also in a good spot because they have covered Virginia Tech 4 straight times when they have been in a revenge spot. So that just tells you Virginia Tech hasn't been able to beat Miami 2 years in a row, in a while, in almost 10 years.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, other than the fact that it's a road game and everybody's picking Virginia Tech to win, you look at this game and in the matchups, it just seems very, very, very strong for Miami because of what the offense should be able to do against that
I'm
defense.
surprised that everybody's picking. I don't know. It must be a reason that they're all going with Virginia Tech in this one.
Well, it's very simple. I mean, nobody's looking at Miami as a 10-win team, and they're looking at the last 4 games and they're trying to figure out where the losses are coming, because and Virginia Tech, Blacksburg on the road is an obvious place to kind of expect that. But I still think there's going to be an enormous pressure on Virginia Tech to score and score and score to keep up with Miami.
That's right.
And I'm not sure if those guys are out. Like I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do it. And I see Miami winning a close game on the road. But I'm right now. I think I'm more concerned with the Wake Forest game in a couple weeks than I am this game. Now maybe I turn out to be insane and Miami gets beaten Saturday, but I'm personally more concerned with the Wake Forest game than this game because I think Wake Forest is a more balanced team than Virginia Tech right now, and those kids play just ridiculously hard. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And the key matchup stat. Virginia Tech 7th in the nation with 24 sacks. Miami 104th in the nation with 18 sacks allowed. So that's where Virginia Tech, they've got some guys that can get to the quarterback. So Miami, that offensive line, that's why you got to run the football. Run the football. Don't let Virginia Tech, rear back and come after you. And the one that favors Miami, they are 35th in total offense at 443 a game. And as you mentioned, Virginia Tech, 460 a game. That's 95th in the nation. So, I can't see Miami not doing it again. And like you said, it's all up to Virginia Tech. Can they keep pace?
Yep.
All right, we'll see. Gary, appreciate it as always. Next week, it's Georgia Tech. That's a home game, correct?
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, Gary, we'll talk Georgia Tech football next week. We'll wrap up Virginia Tech as well, and we'll see if we can keep our hearts in our chests a little bit more. Hopefully, that's what it's a 12:00 game as well, so that's good. We got the rest of the day to get our adrenaline back again, or lose our adrenaline.
It's supposed to be beautiful up there too. I mean, perfect weather. So we'll see.
All right, Gary. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you,
You
Greg.
got it.
Pleasure as always.